So, welcome to this course, this video course, introducing Buddhist meditation, where we're specifically looking at the visualization of the Tantric Stupa. My name is Suvannavira. That's my Buddhist name. I received it when I was ordained into the Triratna Buddhist order during a 16-week retreat at a retreat center called Gukaloka in the south of Spain in 1994. So a few years ago now. And this course is a six-week introduction to Buddhist meditation from the perspective of the Tantra, of Tantric Buddhism. And we'll be doing it specifically by looking at and doing the visualization of the Tantric Stupa. That's our main aim. The Tantra is concerned with direct experience of our true nature. So our aim is to use the practice, the meditation practice, the visualization of the Tantric Stupa, as a means, as tools, as an instrument to have direct experience of our true nature. To understand the Tantric Stupa, we'll start looking at the Stupa simply as the Stupa, and how it became connected with Buddhism. The Stupa started as a burial place, and as we shall see, the Buddha himself was, well, his relics were left in several stupas. They began life as mounds of earth, which we can have a look at here. But stupas developed over the centuries. And with them, with their development, they developed a vast spiritual symbolism. The development of that spiritual symbolism could be said to mirror the development of Buddhism itself. Let's have a look at a more developed stupa. So the more developed form of the stupa. On this course, to support our visualization of the Stupa practice, we'll also learn and do other important Buddhist meditation practices: the mindfulness of the body, formless meditation, the mindfulness of breathing, the metta-bhavana, or development of universal loving kindness, as well as some guided reflections. More extensive teaching on these 4 basic practices can be found on the course Buddhist Meditation, Going Further, Going Deeper, and teaching about the practice in our practice in everyday life can be found in the course of the same name, focusing on the psychological and ethical dimensions of Buddhist practice. But in this course, we'll be looking also at the 5 elements of which the stupa is made up of: earth, water, fire, air, and space, each of the elements being connected to one of the 5 Buddhas, one of the dhyana Buddhas of the 5 Buddha mandala. And we'll chant the mantras of each of these Buddhas at the end of our visualization of the stupa. And we'll also see how we can connect our visualization practice to the chakras. As well as that, we'll be looking at the meaning of symbolism in general. All of this giving us instruments to use the colours and shapes of the stupa for developing direct experience of our true nature. The colours and shapes can be seen here. Or maybe you prefer this one. Another element of this course will be questions for you to answer. Questions that you can answer online in groups on WhatsApp or Telegram, either in individual chats with me or in small groups. Request to keep the contents of these conversations confidential so we can all feel at ease to speak openly and truthfully. I'll talk more about the value of expressing your experience as a spiritual practice during the course on meditation, going further, going deeper. So the first question for you to answer is, how does the symbolism of the stupa help you to have direct experience of your true nature? Useful to try to answer this question right at the beginning, before listening to more of the video. So today we'll start by looking at the Buddha and the Stupa. The Buddha meaning the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, Shakyamuni Buddha, and his connection with the Stupa, or rather the Stupa's connection with him. And afterwards we'll start looking at the Stupa, its forms and colours. The question for you, do you already know the Stupa, or is this your first meeting? What are your impressions of it? Today, we'll start by looking at the element earth. And if we look at the Stupa, the image, we can see the element earth represented by a yellow cube at the bottom. In later weeks, we'll look at the other 4 elements: water, the white sphere, fire, the red cone, air, the pale green upturned hemisphere, and space, the flaming drop. And all of this in the context of consciousness, the clear blue sky that you can see. Maybe this image is better. To give a practical connection to the element earth, to connect the element with our direct experience, we'll also learn and do the meditation practice called the mindfulness of the body. And we'll finish with visualizing the Stupa, focusing on the element earth. But first, we'll look at the Buddha, a bit about his life and his Parinirvana and the coming of the Stupa. The source material of this book is Greatest Symbols of Tantric Buddhism by Sangharakshita, the founder of the Triratna Buddhist Order and the Triratna Buddhist Community, and my main teacher. So, starting with the story of the Buddha. The Buddha was born a man. He became a Buddha. He became an enlightened human being when in meditation he realized the supreme reality of things. Being a man, there's quite a lot we know about his life. The cultural conditions of the time, for example, the political systems, meaning the different states which are now part of modern-day India, the social systems, meaning the caste system, and economic life, the different trade routes of the day. We also know quite a lot about him. Tradition tells us he went forth to search for truth when he was 29. At 35, he gained enlightenment and spent the next 45 years teaching others the path to enlightenment, before entering Parinirvana at 80. We know also about his disciples, how they converted, and how they got on the spiritual path, as well as many others who he met, kings and priests and traders, homeless wanderers, prostitutes, and many, many others. We know as well the different reactions that people had to him, the joy and devotion at there being an enlightened being walking around, but some just considered him just another spiritual teacher or a miracle worker, or just a wandering ascetic and beggar. Some considered him a notorious troublemaker. Our story starts near the end of his life, as he was preparing for his Parinirvana. Parinirvana being the dissociation of the supreme enlightenment experience of a Buddha from the physical body, through which it was attained. The dissociation when the physical body drops away. We're told that for a Buddha, there's nothing too significant about this. His experience remains the same. Before Parinirvana, after Parinirvana. With a body, without a body. It's hard for us to imagine. But even though for the Buddha, it was said to have nothing too significant about his Parinirvana, there was a great significance for his disciples. Third question for you. Do you think about what will happen after death? Do you think much about it? Or is it an unpleasant topic? And if you do, how do you think about it? It should be added that thinking about death just makes us feel sad and depressed. It's better to avoid the subject for now. We're told that the Buddha knew when he was going to die. He stayed calm and composed with a clear mind and reflected how best to use my time. He chose a farewell tour of northern India to give last teachings and farewells to his friends and disciples, accompanied by his friend and constant companion, Ananda. A question for you, what would you do if you found out, for example, you had 3 months to live? The Parinirvana Sutta of the Digha Nikaya, the Digha Nikaya being the long discourses of the Buddha, found in the Pali Canon, gives a more connected and detailed account of the last months of the earthly existence of the Buddha than any other period of his life. Right now, we'll only look at a very few of these events connected to our theme. There was a day when the Buddha was wearing brilliant new golden robes, given to him as an offering from a rich disciple. And Ananda remarked that his skin, his complexion, was even brighter than the golden robes. The Buddha replied there were 2 times when his skin is especially bright. The night of his full enlightenment, and the night where he enters Parinirvana. The significance is clear. These were the 2 most important events of his life. Later that night, the Buddha lies down between twin sal trees on a couch prepared by Ananda. We're told that a miracle happens. The sal trees flower in untimely blossom. Beautiful, pure white flowers rain down and cover the Buddha's body, and heavenly frankincense falls. And ethereal music of the gods and goddesses is in the air. It's like nature itself is worshipping the Buddha. Although the Buddha remarked that the true way to worship the Buddha was to practice his teaching. At some point, Ananda asks what to do with the Buddha's remains, with his body. The Buddha replies he should get on with his spiritual practice. He's not yet enlightened, and leave it to faithful lay followers to deal with his remains. But Ananda insists, asking 3 times. And the Buddha had a custom that if he was asked 3 times, he would answer, no matter what. A Tibetan source tells us the Buddha once answered this question thus, silently, Zen-like. He simply folded one of his robes in 4, and again in 4. And on top of that, he put his upturned begging bowl and said, "You should bury me thus." As the night draws on, the Buddha, surrounded by his disciples, one of the things he tells them is that after his Parinirvana, don't think that they don't have a teacher. They should regard the Dharma as their teacher. Regard the truth that he has taught as their teacher. His path to enlightenment as their teacher. The principle being, he who sees the Dharma sees the Buddha. The Buddha lives on in his teaching. Question for you: do you feel, can you imagine feeling the Buddha living in the Dharma? And finally, he uttered the famous words, impermanent are all compounded things. With mindfulness, strive on. And entering a state of deep meditation, he passed into Parinirvana. As his lifeless body lay there, we are told those who weren't yet enlightened amongst his disciples wept and wailed, but those who were carried on sitting calmly, peacefully. After the Buddha was cremated, we are told messengers of different kings arrived, asking for relics of the Buddha, demanding them to begin with. They nearly got into a fight. But there's at least one wise man amongst them who said how unfitting it would be to fight over the remains of such a man of peace. And eventually they agreed to divide them up into 8, so they should be given to everybody. And everybody was happy. The relics were taken to the 8 kingdoms and buried, followed the custom in India that when a great man dies under a great mound with great honour. The ancient Greeks honoured their dead in the same way. The ancient Britons heaped earth in the form of long barrows over the bodies of their heroes. These mounds came to be known as stupas. And we can have a look at one once again. So that's how our story starts. How the story of the stupa starts. And How it develops we'll see over the course of this course, and we'll see what additional meaning and significance the stupa was invested with. So, having seen the origins of the stupa, let's turn our attention to our stupa, not the real stupas that you can see in Asia, which we'll look at later, but an image that we can use for our meditation, for our visualization practice, with different coloured shapes on a blue background. There it is. That's another option. I'm still not sure which I prefer. Okay. So over the course of this course, we'll look at what all the different shapes mean and the different dimensions of the symbolism, as well as simply the meaning of symbolism, the topic in itself. But we'll start at the bottom with a yellow cube. The yellow cube symbolizes the earth element, examples of which are rock and metal and soil, which exist in us as bone and muscle and flesh. Maybe more abstractly speaking, earth can be said to symbolize the qualities of solidity and resistance. It can be said to symbolize, can be found in giant mountains that last for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. But if we look in terms of psychophysical energy, it's static energy, even energy blocked. The question for you, what feelings, what associations does the earth element give to you? Maybe the more positive ones of the great stability and endurance of an enormous mountain, or more negatively, like blocked energy. We know we have some energy, but it just doesn't come out. The meditation practice that we'll do to support our visualization of the stupa today is the mindfulness of the body. The body giving us a direct experience of bone, muscles and flesh, of solidity and resistance. So it's fitting that we have a direct experience of our body in association with the element earth. So, coming to the practice, the mindfulness of the body. We'll do the practice together in a bit. I'll guide us through the different stages of the practice. But to begin with, I'll just say a few words about what we're going to do. The essence of the practice is bringing our attention to our body, part by part, bit by bit, going round our body, focusing on the sensations in each part of the body. Not a mental image, but the sensations in my hand. If I move it, I can feel sensations. Without movement, I can still feel subtle sensations. So we're looking to become aware of the element earth in us, in our bones, muscles and flesh. We can also see if our muscles are tense or relaxed and allow them to relax more deeply. We can look to become more aware of the sense of resistance and solidity in our experience. We can look to see if any energies can be freed up. Allow ourselves to unblock some blocked energies, something that we didn't want to experience, that we allow ourselves to experience. And to do this, it helps to have a warm and open attitude to ourselves, a warm and open attitude to anything that arises. But if you notice we're starting to get distracted, starting to think about what to eat after meditating or anything else, that's okay, that's normal. Just when we notice that we've got distracted, just bringing our mind calmly back to the object of meditation and continuing. We continue like this. Over time, our center of gravity will change. Have a deeper awareness of our body. Also important to be sitting comfortably and upright. In the text around the video, you'll see that there's a link, and it's another guided mindfulness of the body. That will lasts a bit longer. But what's really valuable is that at the beginning there's a section on how to sit well, what is good posture for meditation. Well worth a look. For me, I'm sitting in a chair. I'll just put this bolster behind me. It will just help me to sit upright, sitting upright and comfortable. And just one last thing before we start. Yes, more extensive teaching on this practice can be found in the video course, Buddhist Meditation, going further, going deeper. But for now, I'll start guiding us in the mindfulness of the body meditation. So when you're ready, closing your eyes, and allowing yourself just to be here in your room, with your body, with nothing to do. allowing yourself just to be aware, being aware of what happens. Now taking a moment just to listen to all the sounds around you, the sounds in your room and beyond your room. And bringing your attention now to your body, seated here. And bringing your attention to all the different sensations in your body. Noticing the ever-changing, forever-changing flow of sensations in your body. Now, focusing your attention on your legs and feet, starting with the soles of your feet, and your ankles, your shins and calf muscles, and your knees, and thighs. Allowing yourself to imagine your attention, your awareness in your thighs, this light, this soft, warm light in the thighs, healing light. And you bring your attention up to your genitals, and bottom. And feeling the weight of your body on your seat or cushions, on the floor, letting the floor take the weight, support the weight of your body. Bringing your attention up now to your arms, and hands, hands are a very sensitive part of the body, enjoying the sensations of your hands. And moving your attention to your torso, to your back and spine, into your stomach. Are there any blocked energies in your stomach? Let them go. See what's there. Now moving your attention to your ribcage. You're looking to notice how the muscles move with each in-breath and each out-breath. And moving your attention now to your throat, and shoulders, and letting the muscles in your shoulders expand a little more with each in-breath, and relax a little bit more with each out-breath. And now, moving your attention up your neck. And scalp. And now your face, and eyes. Looking to notice the sensations in your nose or mouth with each in-breath and each out-breath. And now expanding your attention outwards again to include the whole of your body, seated here, and expanding your attention outwards into your room and beyond, listening to all the sounds around you. And when you're ready, slowly and gently opening your eyes to finish your practice. Welcome to the world of meditation. Okay, so how did it go? The mindfulness of the body meditation. Let us know in the chat groups. And now we're ready to go on to the Stupa visualization practice. We'll do a guided Stupa visualization practice. But just a few words more of introduction. Visualization. This means we consciously use our imagination. We learn how to use our imagination more consciously and for our benefit, even though it's possible to use our imagination to harm us, like when we anxiously imagine something bad happening again and again. But here, no, we're using it for our benefit. We're learning how to creatively use our imagination. And ultimately, we're here to learn how to help us have a direct experience of our own true nature by using our imagination. But just to say, even though it's called visualization, you don't actually need to visualize. Some people simply can't visualize, and that's okay. It's enough to get a sense or a feeling, or even an intuition of the forms and the colours of the practice. And that would give a meaning to the practice. And what's more, you can visualize, you can sense the stupa before you, in front of us, or inside you, as you wish. If you visualize the stupa inside you, it's like your body awareness becomes part of the practice, a support, a foundation for the practice. Each element is associated with a part of the body, with a chakra, the center of psychophysical energy. There are various teaching on chakras that have various numbers of them, but the Buddhist Tantra usually uses 5. Since our focus today is the earth element, the yellow cube, it's visualized around our hips. More precisely, the breadth of 4 fingers below the navel. Sangharakshita, as well as being the founder of our tradition, the Triratna Buddhist Order and Community, he was also a poet, and he wrote a poem about the meaning of these elements, the 5 elements connected with the stupa, and the 6th element being consciousness. He called the poem The 6 Elements Speak. And since we're focusing on the earth element, the yellow cube today, we'll include a verse about the earth element in our visualization. Worth mentioning as well, maybe, that the earth element, all the elements, are used as a means of reflection on impermanence and death. The Buddhist advice is always only to reflect on death if we're in a positive state of mind. We want to avoid getting depressed. We want the reflection on death is a practice to let go and to feel lighter, ultimately happier. So it's recommended only to reflect on death if we're in a positive state of mind. But if we are, we can reflect that we all have these elements in us: earth, water, fire, air. We occupy space, but they are not us. We've only borrowed them. When we die, we'll have to give them up. So the elements give us a way to reflect about our impermanent nature. And each of the elements is associated with an archetypal Buddha, one of the 5 Buddhas in the 5 Buddha mandala. The earth element is associated with Ratnasambhava. So after the visualization practice, I'll chant the mantra of Ratnasambhava. His name means jewel born, born from jewels, and his colour is golden. He represents one of the aspects of the enlightened mind, one of the wisdoms of the Buddha. He represents the wisdom of equality. So I'll show you his image. So, Ratnasambhava, the jewel-born, golden in colour, representing the wisdom of equality, and associated with the element earth. When I chant the mantra, you're welcome to join in, or you can just sit and listen. We have a tradition in Triratna that when we start mantras, the leader chants the mantra twice, on his own, on her own, and then everyone else joins in. And we continue chanting until the mantra naturally fades out. So yes, the introduction to our Stupa visualization practice. Well, it's getting late, and we're finally ready to do the Stupa visualization practice, which I'll lead us through. Before we start, I'll just show you once again the Stupa that we'll be visualizing. Here it is. If you prefer this version. Okay. So, just making sure I'm sitting in upright and comfortable posture. I'll put the bolster behind me. And we can begin. So firstly, taking a moment to arrive in the room again by listening to all the sounds around you. And bringing now your attention to your body, to all the sensations in your body, the endless flow of changing sensations. As we begin the visualization of the Tantric Stupa, firstly visualizing a clear blue sky, an unlimited clear blue sky, stretching out in all directions of space, above and below, in front and behind, to our left and to our right. And we can see before us the yellow cube. Maybe we can feel it in us, around our hips, the yellow cube, symbol of the element earth. I am the element earth. The earth element speaks. I am earth. I am rock, metal, and soil. I am that which exists in you, as bone, muscle, and flesh. But now I must go, leaving you light. Now we must part. Goodbye. Above the yellow cube, we see and feel a white sphere. The white sphere, symbol of the element water. Above the white sphere, we see and feel a red cone. The red cone, symbol of the element fire. Above the red cone, we see a paled green hemisphere. pale green hemisphere, symbol of the element air. Above the pale green hemisphere, you see and feel a rainbow-coloured flaming drop. The rainbow-coloured flaming drop, symbol of the element space. Now we can see the stupa as a whole in the midst of the boundless clear blue sky. We can feel the stupa as a whole. Now the flaming rainbow-coloured drop slowly dissolves into the pale green hemisphere. The pale green hemisphere slowly dissolves into the red cone. The red cone slowly dissolves into the white sphere. And the white sphere slowly dissolves into the yellow cube. Om Ratna Sambhavatam. 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 Om Sambhava Now, even the yellow cube slowly dissolves into the clear blue sky, the boundless clear blue sky, stretching out in all directions of space. And at last, the clear blue sky slowly dissolves, leaving us seated here, absorbing the effects of the practice. So, how did the visualization go? The last question for the online chat. And we've come to the end of this video now. We've looked at the Parinirvana of the Buddha and the start, which was the start of his association with the Stupa. We looked at the earth element of the Stupa, symbolized by the yellow cube, and the mindfulness of body practice, which supports reflection and awareness of the element earth, before finally finishing with the Stupa visualization practice and the chanting of the mantra of Triratna. There's been a few questions collected up, so I'll just go over them once again so you have them all together. How does the symbolism of the Stupa help us have a direct experience of our true nature? Do you already know the Stupa, or is this your first meeting? In either case, what are your impressions? And a deep one. Do you think about what will happen after death? If yes, how do you think about it? What do you think? And what would you do if you found out, say, that you only had 3 months to live? Do you feel the Buddha living on in the Dharma and in the Sangha? And what feelings, what sense does the element earth give you? Is it something positive like a vast ancient mountain? Or negative, like blocked energy, unable something in you to get out? How was the meditation, the mindfulness of the body? And how was it the visualization of the Tantric Stupa? Did you visualize it in front of you or inside you? So your questions, reflection, and communication, and suggestions for during the week. You can try doing the mindfulness of the body meditation, even every day, and trying to develop mindfulness of the body in everyday life. Seated on the metro or the bus, instead of putting the headphones in, we can just give our attention to the body. We can try doing one thing every day with full attention, with all of you. Looking at the element earth in our lives. The theme of energy. What can we do to liberate our energy? For it to flow more freely. And a Stupa visualization practice you can try on your own. And chanting the mantra of Ratna. And what would the qualities of the wisdom of equality look like if it was more strongly developed in your life. In the next video, we'll take a deeper look at the meaning of symbolism in general, since so much of this course is tied up with symbolism. And we'll look more specifically at the water elements, the qualities of cohesion and fluidity. The Buddha from the mandala of the five Buddhas connected with water is Akshobhya, whose wisdom is the mirror-like wisdom. And the supporting meditation practice will be the formless meditation practice. So that's what we have to look forward to. And I wish you a rich and significant week, reflecting on the earth element, and developing and deepening your awareness of the body, your body.